Hello, my name is Amy Sturkey. I am a pediatric physical therapist, and I'm here with Nathan Todd. And Nathan is someone I treated when I was a young therapist, and he had the selective dorsal rhizotomy, so I saw him 4 times a week at some points. And we're still friends today. And I saw him on social media, and I said, I've got to catch up with Nathan because he was a fantastic kid, and I knew that he would be wonderful to talk to. Tell me about your social media now.
So my social media now, you can find me Facebook, The Loneliness Coach, Instagram, The Real Nathan Todd. And, on the other parts of the conversation, I haven't talked about this a lot, but also am known as Mr. Nathan. So I do a story time that's all about inclusive stories for young kids with disabilities. So if you look up Story Time with Mr. Nathan, you can find that on YouTube.
I love those.
It's fun. I love being that character.
Which kind of leads into what I was wanting to talk about. I have parents who follow my channel because they just had a child diagnosed with cerebral palsy. And I get people with all levels of involvement, really mild involvement to really significant involvement. And being someone who has cerebral palsy, do you have any thoughts or words that you could say to someone?
Yeah, absolutely. And some of them, to be honest, they might not. Like, you might listen to them now and be like, oh, that's kind of harsh. Like, I think first and foremost, it's about realizing that, like, a lot of times people want to use the term special needs. I think that kind of sets you up for failure when you use that term, because, like, I'm somebody with special needs and you don't actually recognize the disability at all. And I have a big, I think that's huge for any young person to recognize that they have a disability and just to change the narrative that that's not a bad thing. So I would recommend to any young parent or parent that just found out your kid has cerebral palsy is to actually integrate, okay, you're a kid with a disability. Disability is just a circumstance. We get to pick what that label actually looks like. And like, one of the greatest things that my family ever did for me was say, okay, one day we're not going to be here. So we're going to work on figuring out what skills you need to be on your own and to live independently. And with that comes the actual thought that, so right now I'm living with my mom, and yet that still does not make me dependent. We are just two people that live together.
Right.
And I think that's important to recognize, that your kid is separate from you. And I see a lot of times, like, it's easy to put a bubble around a kid because you want them to be protected and taken care of. And sometimes you just got to be out there and actually have the experiences that are bad, that are negative.
I mean, in life we fall down, we get back up. It's part of what builds character.
Yeah.
I mean, if you try to live your life without a scrape, you're.
Well, good luck with that when you have cerebral palsy. I'm just saying. That's one of the greatest stories that my mom ever tells. Is one time we were at a park, and, I've told several stories about parks. So apparently parks are a big part of my life. But we were at a park, and one of my friends fell down. And I looked at her apparently and said, oh, it's okay. They just haven't learned how to fall yet.
Wow.
And I think that's so, you don't actually realize what that actually does for you. Like, I should have a t-shirt that says professional faller. Like, I know how to fall, and I can fall and get up and you could be with me. And if you were like in front of me, you would never know that I fell over. But we are going to fall. There are going to be rough times. But some of that is experiencing it and actually figuring out how to navigate around that. And you have to do that yourself. There are going to be experiences that you've had that you want your kid to have. And even when they have it, it's going to be completely different and you're never going to understand it. You are never going to understand it because you aren't the person that has cerebral palsy. And it's like, it's easy to say about like relationships and dating and things like that. You can have all the same conversations, but it's not going to be the same as what your experience was. And there's not much you can actually do about that.
Right. I think that you are in such a powerful position to be able to speak to parents and having lived your life and just see that there are going to be there are ups and downs with everybody's life.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things is to remember it's about you. They need to focus on it's not about them. It's about you and your life and setting you up for success, like you said. Sometimes the more that they try to protect their kid, the less that's positive for the kid.
Yeah. When you get to my age and you're like, what happened? Well, your parents might not have let you experience some stuff.
Right.
And like that can be things even, and I'm not condoning that like you get to make your own choices, but that can be things like even going out and getting drunk with your friends.
Right.
Like that's a reality. And half the time, if I go to a bar, people think I'm drunk before I ever step foot in the bar. They're like, "Oh, who's letting this guy in here?" But like that's a reality. I said it in another piece where we have the same wants and desires as our peers, and like it's about navigating what that looks like is going to look different from you. And if there are any younger kids who happen upon this, like we don't all live on the same timeline. Like your timeline is your timeline. What you were meant to do is what you're meant to do. Just because you see me do something and I happen to have cerebral palsy doesn't actually mean that you have to do that exact same thing. You may have been called to do something else with your life, and you can do that more powerfully than whatever it is that I'm trying to do.
I love your wisdom.
It comes with a lot of life experience. That's all I can say. And that's one of the beauties of having any disability, I believe. There's wisdom that you gain that you don't actually realize you gain until somebody's sitting here asking you a question. And like, I think that's one thing that I've been called to do is to share whatever knowledge that I have so that people can come behind me and do things 10 times better and more powerfully than me. And I just want to help shift the perception of disabilities like one little inch at a time.
Thank you so much for talking with us. We'll look forward to talking to you next time. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
If you liked this video and would like to be notified by email when the next video comes out, click the subscribe button here and click the golden bell icon and ensure notifications are enabled on your account.